Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo.
Right.
And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is May 18th, 2021. It is a beautiful Tuesday evening, almost to a point where I think the AC's got to be on. So if you start seeing me sweat a lot, you got to give me the old thumbs down, take a break, go dry off. I'm Brock. Joining me, as always, is Pep Cariotti. Pep, how you doing today, bud?
Good, man. You talk about a beautiful day. Yeah, I actually I biked out to Mooney's Bay, and then I head over to Carlton for a second on my bike, and it was one of those. I stopped at one moment. I'm like, wow, this is like picturesque sunny day. Glad to be out enjoying it. Looks like the restrictions are going to be loosened a little bit in the upcoming weeks. Ontario didn't give much of a firm. They kind of just said as soon as possible or something. I can't remember the terminology she used today, but it's promising at least, you know.
Yeah, and there's a posting today about one of the minor football associations. So they're talking about tackle football being back on as of June 14th, and the season will resume in August. So I don't know if that's just a Quebec thing. I know he's the president of the NCAFA League. Gowan is also the president of the Gatineau Vikings. So Quebec and Ontario have a little bit different rules. The Vikings do play in the Ontario League, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, all
That's
things
exciting.
are encouraging. Today was my turn to get the Moderna.
Oh, come on.
Should I be concerned there? No?
My turn for Moderna. Oh, jeez.
I got a shout out to Mike, the producer in the back there. I need something that rhymes with Moderna. I got nothing. Why is there
It's not bad. It's not bad. How you feeling?
Not great. So far, so good. I'm gonna take it easy tonight, and we'll see how it goes in the morning. But I don't know. It's one of those things. I was kind of, I was kind of torn, and you're never sure. Are they rushing it? Should I be getting it? Anyway, yada yada. I got it. Ange gets hers Thursday, so we'll be a vaccinated family, and
good.
Hopefully, it helps.
You know what's wild is that I was researching the actual vaccine, the contents of it, because you can actually look that up online, and a lot of the stuff that's in it, your body produces. So, and we filter out like 80% of it, and what remains is what triggers an immune response. So, it's not like this synthetic, unknown material going into our bodies, which I only realized recently after I did some of my own research. But it was comforting to know that it seems like it's all stuff that our body produces. Anyways, I'm happy for you. It's good. I want to perfect segue. I want to shout out my buddy Mike Herzog, who you may have seen on CBC and CTV recently. He's running 14 kilometers every single day in May to honor the frontline heroes. And what he does is he runs around the General Hospital in a loop and until he reaches 40K. He does it before work. And he tries to get out there after. He wants to meet the nurses before their shift so he can greet them, and then he comes back out in the afternoon and greets them as they leave. So it's wild stuff. He's doing it for nothing other than just to thank them. His wife is an occupational therapist, my dear friend Genevieve. Yeah, for sure. He's, and I like a couple of weekends ago, we got out there and we put signs in all the hospital campuses, signs that he created. He got sponsorship for. I think there was a real estate company that made the signs. They're awesome, and all the hospitals are on board. It's wild stuff. He's an incredible guy. Yeah. Speaking of shout outs, I also want to shout you out, Brock. I read that article that your brother posted. I think was it this morning that he posted it?
Yesterday.
I think it was yesterday or this morning. Anyway, it was a really touching article. Sort of a deeper look into your career, your life, the path you took, and how you've turned that career into impacting kids in a positive way. So really cool article, really well written. The picture's great, like it's the frontline picture of the article, but really just what you're doing with kids and allowing them to access development, access these types of things that that aren't necessarily accessible to everybody. Even if it's an inexpensive sport, which football isn't, not everybody has access to these things, right?
Yeah.
So, kudos to you and to Scott and what you guys are doing with not only CFI but Football Forward, and it's really good stuff. As somebody who is involved in his community, I can honestly say it's really good stuff. So, congratulations to you. It's a great article, and if anybody wants to read the article, they can hit me up, or they can hit up Curtis Fleming, and he can forward it, or they can hit you up, and you can forward it to them. Good article on Brock Fleming.
Well, I appreciate it. It was forwarded a couple times, and actually a couple people reached out. I think, Scott Endicott's wife, Leanne, was asked if she can use it in her class today for something. And then
cool.
Another gentleman who wants to use it within the government procurement circles and stuff. Anyway, it was Colgate. It was an alumni thing. I still don't know what prompted it for them to reach out to say that they want to do the piece, but ultimately it was an honor to get featured in our alumni magazine. Like, I'm going to get a couple of hard copies there, and
very cool.
But at the same time, like, everything that I do, that's the article says I do, isn't possible without the people that I do it with. So Scott being a big part of it as a partner, but from all the coaches, I listed them all sort of on the Facebook thing, but these guys put in countless hours and are doing it for the right reasons. Nobody's in it to get rich. It's all about the kids, and these guys are class acts. So for what CFI does, the Football Forward, and I mean, you were part of the Football Forward one. So, and moving forward, you're part of that family. It's the right people that you work with that makes everything. So it wouldn't happen without them.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had a air horn button, I'd use it. So you can just go ahead and do that for me, if you don't mind. Very good. Very good. Again, really quickly, happy trails to Marv Albert. 60 years on the mic, mainly with the New York Knicks. So if you think about Marv Albert, I mean, I just have this, I could hear his voice in the 90s when the Knicks were playing the Pacers and Reggie Miller, and then the 80s with Ewing, and even back when I watched a retro game in the 70s, Willis Reed broke his leg, came back out of the locker room, the original locker room walk, and beat Wilt Chamberlain and the Lakers. It was incredible, and it's all Marv. So he's actually stepping down after the Eastern Conference Finals this year. He'll be calling it a career. I know he had that sort of weird sort of thing in the I can't remember. It might have been in the mid 90s where there was something there. I think he bit somebody on the back, in whatever. But apart from that, I mean, he's had a Hall of Fame career, and it's sad to see these guys go. I feel old when guys like that take off and call it a day. So, hey, happy trails to Marv Albert. And
to Marv Albert.
And lastly, our executive producer brought this up in the green room. I want to break it up. Breaking news: Quebec is going to allow the Habs to host 2,500 fans as of May 28th. So, what are we? What's tomorrow? The 19th. So 8 games, depending on where they're at, and if they can get past the Leafs. I mean, they may not even get to that game. The Leafs.
Maybe that's why they said the 28th. They're like, oh, well, full capacity as of May 28th. You guys are officially eliminated from the playoff.
Maybe. It's very possible. So that's exciting. Anyways,
I'm going to shout out to my Uncle Greg. It's his birthday today. Happy
Uncle
birthday.
Who?
My Uncle Greg, my mom's brother, Greg.
All right.
Don't see him as often as I'd like to, but it's his birthday today. Also, shout out to Kevin Pillar, who was one of my favorite Blue Jays, took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to the face.
He's okay.
He's okay, which is surprising. Tough guy. He played football growing up and stuff too. Tough lad. Anyway, that's why his jersey's up. And then also shout out to one of our listeners and contributors, Kevin Douglas, who is running a hockey pool on our site. So he posted it there, but it's to raise money for Alzheimer's. So for those who are interested, it's an NHL playoff pool. I believe it's $25 to get in. 5 of that goes right to the Alzheimer's Foundation. And, it's just a fun way to raise money for a good cause. So any hockey fans or any sports fans, anybody looking to do something and participate in this and maybe bring a little bit more excitement or interest to the hockey playoffs, which is what I'm going to be using it for, join that and, do it for a good cause. So
holy cow, Brock. You're Captain Segway today. Like you're just it's Mr. Smooth Transition, we'll call you. Hey. Big smooth.
It's that vaccine. It's working.
That must be it. Our guest today, I'm so excited about him because he's a funny guy, but he's also a great guy, and he has a tremendous hockey background. So before we bring him in, a little bit about our guest. He played 4 years of junior hockey, coached by Tim Murray, former Buffalo Sabres GM, and Montreal Canadian legend Michel Bunny Larocque. Outstanding. What a great nickname, Bunny Larocque. He was an on-ice instructor at the Okanagan Hockey School in Penticton, BC, for 2 years, alongside some hockey greats, Grant Fuhr, Andy Moog, Pete Peters, Brett Hull, and Luc Robitaille. He also completed the hockey GM and scouting program at Hockey Management Worldwide. So clearly a skilled guy, knows his hockey. We specifically sought him out to come on the show because of this. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for a Troy St. Louis.
Ooh, I like it. I was expecting the Send song there.
Yeah. Pep sent me the link for the Send song, and I was like, I couldn't even listen to it, let alone like put it on.
That Spartan, that Sparty guy.
Da, 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 da.
I was thinking I'd have to get the hat on, get on the hat, and walk out here with no shirt on.
You know what? I actually make a point of it to share that every year, once a year.
I know you do. I know you do.
It's so ridiculous.
Just like me, every year I have to share the line brawl between the Sens and Habs, and I have to do it at least once.
That's fine. Actually, we're going to talk about that a little later. Speaking of line brawls, listen. Before we get into NHL playoff hockey, which has started, there's some really. I haven't watched. Admittedly, I haven't watched much of the United States side of things. But there's some cool matchups on that side of the bracket. But we're going to get to that in a bit. Before we talk about any of that. Sens season. If you can sum it up, success, failure, or is the jury out?
I think it was a success. If you were to ask me 12 games into the season, man, there was panic going on. I have a really good buddy of mine who's really high up in the Sens, and they were nervous just because the team, they were so hopeful that they would look like they did at the end of the year. I mean, they didn't expect to go 8-2 or 8-1-1, but they wanted them to compete hard, right? At the beginning of the season, though, their defense was absolutely atrocious. Their goaltending was horrible. They were letting in shots from the blue line. I could have saved half those shots. You know what I mean? It was terrible. I just think it was a big, they just broke down. But I think what happened too was that the kids kind of took over, right? The beginning of the year, I don't think they had much faith in playing the kids. And I totally get it on the standpoint of a coach. He's trying to keep his job, so he's going to put people out there that he can trust, right? So he's going to go with the veterans, and they're always going to say, well, we're bringing the veterans in here to show the kids how to play, and the kids are going to have to outplay the veterans before they steal spots, which I totally get, but they outplayed them. Like on a nightly basis or when they got their chances. So finally, I think when the kids took over, and the veterans were less and less, I think the team played really well. But personally speaking, I think it started with the saves. When they started getting saves, and as soon as you start getting saves, it kind of moves out from there, right? They weren't letting in those big long shots. The goalies were keeping them in. I thought that Decord played really well there when he got his chance. And then unfortunately for him, he got hurt. Gus has played fantastic there since he got his chance to come in. Murray's looked really good again too. Murray's going to be their wild card going forward. They signed him long term. They gave him a lot of money. So I think a lot of re-signings and contracts when it comes to management, coaches and stuff like that are going to rely on Murray. If he falters, unless one of the kids steps up, I think they're going to be in trouble. When it comes to the forwards, I thought their forwards are unreal. Tkachuk, I love him. I personally think he's their best player, by far. He's just a heart and soul guy. You can look at skill guys and stuff like that, but there's always that little it factor. And I think that he brings that there on a nightly basis. The team follows him. You can tell when they're flat in the first period, he'll go out and do something, and people just kind of thrive off that. Norris had a fantastic year. For a kid playing against the top centerman, in the Canadian division, he was playing against the big boys. He didn't get nights off. He had McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews. It was gross, but he did an awesome job. Batherson, I thought he
came along.
He's a really good player. And it's interesting because my buddy said, you're going to love him. He said, he'll be our best player like this year. Like he just loves him. And he said he's an awesome kid. And I thought that he played great. I thought he got tired looking. There was a stretch of about 10 games. There was him and Timmy Stutzla got kind of tired. But then they both kind of bounced back again. Stutzla is just, he's so good.
Well, that was my next question. Like, the development of Stutzla, how did he develop over the year? I mean, like you said at the beginning of the year, they were getting shellacked. It wasn't so much that they were losing; it was how they were losing. But Stutzla held his own even then. I mean, he held his own. He got stronger as the season went on. How do you think he developed over the course of the year?
Personally, I think he showed that he got better. I mean, he just carries the puck there with confidence. Like, he's never going to hesitate. He just goes for it. I would like to see him shoot more. He's a pass-first guy. I mean, like, which isn't bad, but I think if he starts shooting more, like, you'll see him up around the 35 to 40 goal range. I really see him as, like, a superstar. Like, he's going to lead that team when it comes to points, like, for years and years to come. He got what I was like impressed the most with him is he consistently had chances every game. Like, he would consistently go out and get 3 or 4 chances there to score or like to set somebody up to score. And you don't see that. So like with the younger kids, you might get 1 or 2 chances like here and there, but he was consistently going out. Now, like they weren't all going in. He was going high sometimes. He was hitting the post, whatever. But you'll see with his age and the more years that he plays, those pucks are going to start to go in. And when they start going in, his confidence is going to get sky high. I just think he's great. The only thing I think he has to work on personally is his size. Like, he's just got to get stronger. I found he flopped around a lot. When they touched him, he would fall. I didn't know if that was him trying to get penalties, or if he was just falling around, because he's actually pretty strong there when he goes into the corners there. Like, he doesn't shy. And that's something that I love about his game too, is he doesn't shy away from the corners. Like, he'll be first in on like forecheck and he'll hit somebody. And so I think he's going to be like, just,
well, look, we can look at just a year ago. Brady Tkachuk was, he was young. He needed to put on some weight.
Absolutely.
I remember bumping into him actually after a preseason game. It was, Curtis and I were actually at a preseason game, and we went out for a bite to eat after. And he was there with Craig Anderson. He wasn't a big guy; he's a slender guy. So he's put on some mass, and like you said, they go as he goes, and he's got the size to back it up. It's not like his brother; he's bigger than his brother, so he can. And he showed me a ton. I mean, he is an exciting player. Do you think, though, and I'm only playing devil's advocate, I'm not coming at the Sens by any means.
No, that's all good.
Do you think that their stretch run at the end, where I think they were like 10-2-1 or something like that, like really good, they really finished strong, was a little bit of the fact that, it looked like the seedings had already been set for the North Division, and it was it's the end of the season, and some of the teams didn't have as much to play for. I know they played Vancouver a couple times, and do you think that was a product of their late season success?
Yes and no. No, because most of their games were meaningful games, like for the other teams. Like, they were still trying to. I mean, the Habs were fighting to get in until the end, which was weird. Like, they just kind of dropped off for a long time, and they had to fight. The Jets were in the same kind of situation where they had to keep fighting to try and get a better spot and stuff. Were they playing a little looser? For sure. So I think it was like they were playing looser. They didn't feel as much pressure. I think next season they're not going to be like 8-1-1, 8-2-0, like every 10 games. Like, that's not going to happen. Like, they're not that good. I believe that they're going to fight for like a playoff spot. And I think the key to them next year is going to be to get off on on a good start. I think if they falter like they did this season, I think you might going to have some growing pains again, because then the second outing comes in and we're going to hold the stick a little tighter. But if they go out and they have some confidence, and I'm not saying go out and win 8 games or anything like that, but win like maybe 6 out of 10, or go 6-3-1 or something, I think then you're going to see them there with a lot of confidence. They've got a fantastic team.
Like, Pep and I discussed this a couple times on how this season and the format of this season, the fact that they're playing Toronto and Montreal and all the other Canadian teams on
like
a regular
heavy
basis,
hitters. Yeah.
how does that, in your opinion, affect the younger guys' development? So the young guys for the Sens, is that good or is it bad for them in the long run?
It's good the way they finished after. So if you took the first 10 games of the season, it was bad in the sense where they were just getting dominated, right? But after that 10-game mark, they were competing on a nightly basis. I believe I saw a stat the other day that since February 13th, which is my birthday, they were the third best team like in the league or something like that. So like I was actually shocked by that. It was third or sixth best team, but like I was actually shocked. So I think once that initial hump left, then you could see them really doing well, and then the development comes there. If you're always, and this doesn't just happen in hockey, I'm sure it happens in basketball, football, baseball. If you're constantly chasing the play and you're just half a step slower, you're not going to develop. Like that's just like you want to have a bit of confidence to fight hard enough there that you're going to have to work for it, but at the same time you're going to be able to push through, right? And be able to win some foot races and some battling. So if you're always losing those, like your development's going to go like in the tank. So I think that's what they were worried about, and that's why they're playing some veterans at the start, but the veterans just couldn't help, right? So I think once the kids came in, I personally think that they improved. There's not one kid on that team that I look at right now and say, you know what, he was terrible, like he didn't do well. I honestly think that they all did well.
So just in a few words, what do you think about the North Division as a whole? Like, do you think there's no way we see this again? It's unlikely. I think next year we'll see a bit more of a normal season. Do you like the North Division? Did you like the fact that teams play each other 10 times? Did some matchups lose their luster?
They lost their luster once the Sens were out of the playoff round. To me, like at the start of the season, it was like playoffs. Like every game was like anger, and like I liked a lot of the teams. Like a lot of the Canadian teams, I liked them a lot, and I hate them now. And it's just because of the rivalry, right? I don't know, like if I could handle it on a yearly basis. And I don't know the Senators want to handle it, because I think if they went back to the regular division, I think they're going to have a lot better time.
100%.
So,
100%. I think that actually, if we're just talking about the Sens in specific, and we'll get off the Sens in a minute here, guys. But if the Sens have to play the Devils 3 or 4 times a year, the Sabres 3 or 4 times a year, some of the lower rung teams, the Red Wings who are rebuilding. I mean, that's 7-8 wins potentially that they didn't get this year because they had to play the McDavids and the Jets a couple times. Like that was
and whatever,
right. Like I mean that could attribute to 8 or 10 wins, which would bump them up into that playoff realm.
I also think it's a great experience for them, and I've said it before. Right, I just think if you're sort of night in, night out playing against teams that have those caliber guys, but also there's an element of rivalry and some extra emotions within that game, a little extra something, and you're doing that for a full season. I think that when you do get into a regular schedule, I think if those kids have learned that every game we're bringing that same intensity all the time, that's got to pay dividends later on, in my opinion, in terms of development. So I'm curious to see how that works for next season.
Troy, quick question for you, and we want to get on to the bracket, the playoff bracket, but Jake Sanderson, what's the status right now?
So he's going back to college, and then sounds like he'll be in their lineup at the end of the college season, like next year. And he's gonna, by all accounts, like I watched the playoffs, like for college, but this guy is unbelievable.
He's a stud.
He's an absolute stud. Like he could step in like next year, like next season, and be like their second best defenseman. Like he's an absolute stud. And you know what? I don't blame him. What's that, sorry?
What school does he go to right now?
He goes to North Dakota.
Oh, all right.
So, if for anyone listening, Jake Sanderson was their second pick in the first round
overall.
Fifth overall.
Fifth overall?
His dad is Jeff.
Jeff, the speedy
Sanderson.
Winger.
Yeah.
Great player for the Whalers.
That's right. He did play for the Whalers. He was like a 40-goal man.
He was a 40-goal man.
Yeah. But Sanderson, he's fast, like just like his dad. You know, like they say that his offense is not there, but I watched him in the playoffs and he was carrying the puck like end to end. Like it was unreal, like how fast he is and how smooth. But his one-on-one D is the best that I've seen, like with a kid like that. He's just, you cannot beat him like one-on-one.
We have a question here, or
we do have a comment / question from a Facebook user who did not accept the StreamYard term, so I cannot see their face. The veteran pickup for the Sens were bust this year. See Steppen and Colbert. Who does Troy think they should pick up in the offseason to help the young guns?
That's a good question. You see, right now it looks like everybody's saying get a D. But you know what? I don't know if they need a D, to be honest with you. The problem is if you go and get somebody like Savard, so Savard's been rumored as one of the guys that they could potentially go after. Like, you're going to pay him decent money. He's going to want term. Your defense is going to be crowded really fast, right? So once Sanderson steps into the lineup next year, and JBD, they thought that he was going to need time like in the AHL, but it doesn't look like he might now. They got Lassie Thompson coming. You know what? To be honest, I don't know what they need at this point. If anything, I would say they need maybe another. If they could get another gritty forward that can play hockey and not just somebody that's running around looking like a fool, like somebody that can actually play the game. I would love to see, I mean, it's not going to happen, but I would love to see them go and get like Matthew Tkachuk. I think they would be two nasty wingers flying down there for years to come. But I mean, you know, it's not going to happen. But I think by the sounds of it, they're not just going to go out and just sign a veteran because they know that the team, you know, like the rookies like are there now. I think what they're going to do is if they think that they're ready to make that step, they're going to package some better players or picks and actually go and get somebody good. But I would go with, you know, like a gritty forward there that can play hockey.
Is that what your GM educated background says?
Yeah, right. No,
that's impressive.
I actually like guys like Sam Bennett and stuff. I think that they can bring a lot. You see, I thought like Watson did pretty good, to be honest with you. I know he was taking a lot of heat, you know, because they were losing. The guy was blocking shots. He was just an absolute cannonball out there running around. But they've got so much young talent right now that I don't want to see them spending money to just, you know, like lock it up. And then all of a sudden they can't sign young talent and then they got to go somewhere else because they don't have enough money. You know, they've got a couple contracts right now that I wouldn't mind seeing them getting rid of, but they're kind of stuck, you know. Tyranny, for instance, is one of them. And that just shows how much they've come along because he was probably their second best center last year or even maybe best center at one point in this year. Like he's fourth line and not even doing great. So
yeah, there's definitely promising. Oh, we had a Curtis taco salad.
Taco salad.
Amazing. Hey, listen, Troy, while we have you here, I didn't want to get too much into this because I did want to talk about playoffs, but while we have you here, the Tom Wilson situation obviously resolved itself with line brawls. Does hockey need to rethink? This question comes up all the time, right? Does hockey need to rethink the instigator rule and the role of the fighter when we see stuff like that?
Yeah, you see, it's so hard, right? So I'm old school in the sense where I like hockey fighting. I'll be the first to say it. Like I like a good fight. I don't like the stage stuff. I think it's garbage. It's useless. I don't think you're ever going to take away the emotion of the game. It's such a fast-paced game. They're smashing each other. So you're always going to have those fights that just happen. I personally wouldn't mind, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I mean, I personally wouldn't mind them coming up with a solution where if you fight, you're removed for the rest of the game. So maybe that's the way that they should do it, right? So like if they get into a fight, then they're gone. The instigator rule, I think, is garbage. I mean, so like if you're going to keep fighting around, I think it's garbage because it just allows people to go out and do some cheap stuff, and then people don't want to. And then this is where the stage fighting comes into play, right? So years ago, you went out, you did a dirty hit. I might come in and try and police you, whatever. Now I can't because I'm going to get an instigator. So now I'm going to wait until we're lined up 2 games later, and I'm going to say, I'm going to have to fight you. And you're going to say, okay, let's do it. And you're going to drop the puck, and we're just going to fight. And then everybody's going to say, well, what the hell are they fighting about, right? So that's where people get mad. So yeah,
Yeah.
kind of tough. Wilson's a different beast. I mean, like he's problem with like Wilson and guys like Reeves. They're so tough for today's game. Like years ago, they wouldn't have been even like in the top 5 to 10 fighters. Like that's just like a reality.
No,
right?
because
Like
they wouldn't and play hockey.
Exactly.
A lot of the other fighters couldn't do those.
Exactly. Like it's,
And that's
so
good.
these guys, when you get a guy like that, yeah, like keep them. Like people are definitely going to hate him. Like Chuck's hated, Wilson's hated. Like guys like that are hated. But you need guys like that, like in order to win.
Absolutely,
and they can assert themselves, right?
Well, that's it, and I think that's where the NHL has evolved and the evolution of hockey. I mean, we could have a whole other show on the evolution of the game, not only just the players, but the actual game itself, and how it's made the game better, how it's made the game worse. And for me, actually, I just feel like I'm not going to get into it today. I get frustrated when I talk about it, but I just feel like the league hasn't helped the player by not adjusting the ice surface and things of that nature. This is the only sport where guys wear skates. I mean, they're so much faster, stronger, better skilled. They work out all year round. It looks like there's just no room on the ice. And this is just the average dude who watches hockey a couple times a week. So I feel like the game has evolved, but the surface and some of the rules haven't yet.
Yeah, for sure.
And it could be, I mean, it's the size of it hasn't matched up with the advances in technology from even just a skate perspective. That rink is going to be a lot bigger if you're wearing those leather back long skates that aren't sharp.
That's right.
It's a long way to get the other end, but now with the technology, you're there in 3-4 strides.
There's that, but like it's kind of going backwards in the sense where like when I played, first of all, guys couldn't skate the way that they skate today. We weren't strong like they are today. And when they dumped it in, like you could tie them up as they're coming in to slow them down. Well, now like you can't touch them. So now they're dumping it in and they're coming at you like a rocket. Okay. And they're throwing a 220-pound frame of pure muscle at you. And they're just demolishing people. And that's why like concussions are like happening. It's not because somebody drops the gloves and throws a punch. It's because they're getting smoked in the corners, like left and right. Like those are the dangerous plays, and that happen like in the playoffs. They happen like on a shiftly basis. They dump it in, crash, dump and crash. You dump it against the best defenseman so you can hit him the most times. So hopefully by game 3 or 4, he's worn down and then he's not clearing as much. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way that they do it.
Yeah, and that's again, it's the evolution of everything: the player, the strength, the equipment, the equipment in particular. I mean, geez, if you think back to the 80s and 90s, guys who had cannons. What are the guys that come to mind right off the bat? Al Iafrate, McInnes, Iafrate. Anybody else? Like off the top of your head, really howitzers. Like that's it.
Yeah, like those are the guys.
Now everybody. I mean, Chris Neal could shoot the puck 100 miles an hour with the quality of the sticks and their conditioning, the torque that they generate from their shot. I mean, you see wrist shots that look like slap shots back in the 80s. It's crazy. So
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable,
and it's great. It's just, I mean, and the goalies are huge. The last dynamic goalie was what? Brodeur, Hasek. Everybody else now is butterfly and make yourself as big as you can be. So. Right. I don't know. Again, we could do a podcast on this, Brock. Brock and I have talked about this at nausea, and it's really a hot topic for me, anyways. But look, we're up against it time wise, but I did want to get to the brackets here. You're a great guest, buddy. It's informative and just great. I'm just going to pull up the brackets here. Okay, so we have it's a very interesting couple of matchups on the I guess the United States side of things here. Matchups that certainly intrigue me: Boston and Washington.
Yeah.
What do you like in that series? It's 1-1 right now.
Caps. Bruins. I mean, Bruins. Like you can never count them out. Just they've been there. They've done that. Caps to me are the cream of the crop there. Getting Mantha, having another big body who can go crash, score goals. Wilson. These guys are nasty.
Brock, who'd you say? Sorry.
I said, is there a soft spot there for Craig Anderson? That's the most I watched.
No.
I said, "Oh,
No. Is he play? Is he
No.
going to start?
Actually, so that to me is the only way that Boston's going to win this series is if Anderson plays the whole series. Because even though he won the first game and he did okay last game, I find he's just a little shaky looking. Like he just doesn't look like the old Craig. I mean, he's older and he didn't get a lot of reps like this season. So I definitely, this is hoping that they get their goaltending back. If not, it wouldn't shock me if the Bruins beat them, but I just think Washington is too big, too strong, and I think that they're going to plow through them.
Pittsburgh
is nasty still back there too.
Pittsburgh and the Islanders, I find that really interesting because the Islanders had a good regular season. Pittsburgh always comes up big in the playoffs. Even last year aside, the bubble was an anomaly. I don't think that's the norm. But who do you like in that series?
I personally like the Islanders. I think Lou's built a really good playoff team.
Yes,
they don't have superstars except for maybe one or two, but they're a playoff team, and they have the goaltending. I think Pittsburgh's goaltending was a little weak at the start. You can never count Crosby. He's fantastic, right? And I really like when they went and got Carter. I think Carter's going to add a lot to that team. But I really like the Islanders. I just think that they're going to beat them.
Carolina and the Predators.
And Nashville.
Carolina's up 1-0. They had the full barn yesterday.
Yeah. So I think Carolina's going to smoke them. I think Nashville's time is done. I think
that window's closed. Yeah, sure.
It definitely kind of like I saw that with the Sens like years ago. It's kind of the same thing there. I think the window's closed on them.
Brock, I forgot to ask you, Brock, who do you take in Pittsburgh New Islanders?
I'm going for Pittsburgh. My son's a Crosby fan. I mean, so am I. So I'm going for Pittsburgh.
Fantastic player.
Yeah.
Troy, real quick, the Penguins getting rid of Marc-Andre Fleury back in the day, is this one of the biggest mistakes they've made?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think they thought he was done, and he's shown that he's not done at all. He's been fantastic with Vegas.
Where does he I know we're showing that. Where does he rank in like all-time goalies?
Ooh.
Like how high would he
still
be?
Pretty low for me at this point. But I would have to go over and look over stats. But I mean, maybe pushing top 20 at the bottom of top 20, like maybe further. Like I wouldn't assume that he'd be in the top 20, but now thinking about it, he might be around the bottom of that, but he might even be higher than that. I mean,
something to think about. It came up that he's the only goalie to ever be in 15 consecutive playoffs.
That's right.
And you look at, I think he's like third in wins now, and something else. Like he's creeping up, and he's one of my favorite goalies. Probably
he's a good goalie.
Like,
I'm a big fan of his
junior days,
and he's just a solid guy too. Like
right.
He's hard to not like, right?
Exactly.
He's always smiling. He's always happy. Like he's just a nice guy.
You just want to root for him. Anyway,
yeah, for sure.
A couple of randos there, but go ahead.
I love it. Tampa and Florida was a hard-hitting affair right from the get-go. I guess they played each other just before the playoffs, and it got physical. Joel Kenville coaches the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
And he's notorious for pulling goalies. Like he pulled Corey Crawford and played Scott Darling when he was coaching the Blackhawks.
That's right, he did.
Yeah. So now he's doing the same thing in Florida. I guess he's not happy with whoever their starter is, and he's putting in Dreiger. I can't remember.
Dreiger played really, really well. The Sens dumped him a couple years ago. He's had a fantastic year. He's going to sign a big contract. I wouldn't sign him for a big contract, but he's had a great year. But Bobrovsky played game one. He looked really shaky. You can't be shaky against Tampa Bay. I personally want Florida to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, they're just a good, solid, hardworking team. But watching game one, I don't think there's any chance in hell they're going to win. Because when you see Stammer come back and Stammer's on one side and Kucherov's on the other side on that power play, that's just gross. Like it was unreal. It was scary to watch them.
I can't watch Tampa. Good. I can't watch Tampa because
Sergachev.
I can't watch him. I can't watch him. He's so good. He's smooth.
So good. I thought of you there the other night when I watched him. He has this edge to his game too, and I'm like, man, if the Habs had him and Tkachuk right now, can you imagine? But forget about it.
It's painful. It's painful. Drouin's not even with the roster on the roster. I don't think so. It's
no, that's right. He's not.
Jesus. So just really quickly, sorry, who are you picking in that? You think Tampa?
Tampa Bay.
Okay, great. And then we'll finish off the top bracket here. Sorry, we're pushed for time, Troy. We could talk for hours.
Sorry,
you're the best. Sorry, nothing. Colorado and St. Louis. Started yesterday. Colorado.
Abs are unbelievable, man.
They looked really good.
McKinnon's so good. It's scary.
Yeah,
and he looked like a dominating kid who's 8 years old playing against 8-year-olds and going through them like they're nothing. Like there's always that one kid around who just can go through the whole team. Like that was him there yesterday. It was gross.
You think the Leafs regret trading Kadri?
Oh, they should.
Considering the return, I guess, right? They got Tyson Barrie. Was that the return for him?
Yeah, they got Tyson Barrie who's with the Oilers now. Yeah, no, like that's exactly like what they need. Is that tough centerman, right?
Yeah. I think he got a bad rep. Anyway, we'll talk about him another time.
He needed to be out of the Toronto limelight and market to do what he's doing. So
I think you're absolutely right. I think that was a big spotlight, and it was every time he did something kind of.
He's a hometown guy too, right? He's from the area, so that's a lot of pressure.
Vegas and Minnesota. Minnesota took game 1. Minnesota has that kind of Columbus feel to them. When they beat Tampa a couple of years ago. What do you think about Minnesota? Yeah,
I mean, Minnesota really did well against them in the regular season. I still think Vegas is going to pull through. I would love to see, like the Wild win, but I just don't see it happening.
I can't believe we're almost out of time. We haven't even talked about the Leafs and Habs. You mentioned to me today that I'm just embarrassed to be a Habs fan. The fact that they're not putting in Kotkaniemi struggled, mightily the last half of the season. But
it wouldn't hurt for him to sit a game.
I think so. I absolutely agree with that. But not playing Romanov, they're not strong defensively. That's their weakest point. He was good for them, and Caulfield brought energy, and a couple of overtime goals. He could have been a really good story. The fact those guys are sitting out for the first, I don't understand. It is sad. What's the thought process other than wanting bigger guys in the lineup?
I have no idea, because you're basically taking out possibly your hardest hitter, and you're sitting him in the that kid is nasty. He can hit, and that's exactly what they need in the playoffs against Toronto. Speed to get the wingers slowing down as they're coming in, right? So they're taking him out, and then they're taking out this gifted goal scorer. Like, this kid's a machine.
He's good.
I don't care if he's 5'4", 5'6". I don't give a crap. This kid can score, and he, he plays with excitement. But you see, they're playing safe, and when you play safe, to me, you're gonna die. You're not gonna succeed playing safe. So they're putting in these veterans that are a bit bigger, slower. They're not going to do anything for you. Get it off the boards and out. No, man, you got to go for it. You're playing against Toronto with elite talent. You got to go for it.
And the Oilers and Jets.
I think the Oilers are going to steamroll them.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I just think that McDavid is so good right now that the Jets are going to have no answer for him.
Did he have 100 points?
And the Jets are really banged up. I like the Jets a lot, but I think they're really banged up. A couple of their big boys. Now, that's not to say I think the Oilers are going to go further than that, because I don't think they're deep enough. But I just think McDavid's so hot right now that the Jets are going to have a really hard time to contain his speed.
Brock, did McDavid have 100 points? Did he get 100 points in this?
He had 104 or 106 or something.
At one point I saw the thing where it said he'd be leading the league in scoring if he only had his assists or something like that.
Wow.
Still, and then they showed the top point getters had X amount of points. It was 33, blah blah blah, and McDavid had 38 in a 15 game span. So it wasn't even the same amount.
McDavid had more points than 6 or 7 teams' top scores in the whole season in his last 15 games.
I got to give love to look the Leafs. The Leafs are sort of under the. If a team could be under the radar in first place, it's the Leafs. But that team, I got to give Austin Matthews some credit, only because he put the puck in the net. He did his job this year and he did it well. And do I like their team? I think they're scrambled in nets right now. I think Freddie is healthy, but he's a backup. I don't know how happy he must be about that. I don't know if Campbell is the guy to go to. But what do you think about the Leafs bringing in Simmons and Thornton and all of these guys to join Tavares and the talent that they already had? Do you think the Leafs can beat the Habs? Do we even have a winner? Who do you think is going to win that series?
The Leafs have no excuse to not be successful this season, but I think they won't be successful this season. It's just one of those teams. They've got a lot of floaters left, but they've got some really high-end talent. I really like Simmons. and he's getting older, but he's the playoff kind of guy you want. Thornton, yeah, he's older, but he's that kind of playoff guy. So I think that they have the talent to win. You know what? I think Montreal's got a ton of talent. That's the team, and I can't stand both of them. But Montreal's got a team that if they play their game and Anderson starts scoring again, like that guy is an absolute monster. I love him so much. But he's kind of dropping off a bit. If Carey Price can come in and play like Carey Price can and not, off and on, like if he comes in, he's got the talent to steal that series. And I shouldn't say steal because it's not like they're a bad team that's coming in against a really superstar team. I mean, they have a chance to win that. I mean, that's a coin toss. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to beat them. I think the Habs are going to win.
Interesting.
I think Carey Price is going to get hot and they're going to win.
I find that fascinating. Having watched them this year, they struggle on defense. They're not fast foot back there with Kulak and the guys like that. They don't impress me. They disappear all too often. They can't hold lead. If they go up 1-0, it doesn't matter. They go up 2-0, it doesn't matter. The team they're playing is going to be up 3-2 at some point. So they're always playing catch up. I'm going to go with the Leafs. Brock, who are you taking in that series? I got to go with the Leafs. I'm a Habs fan. But
yeah, I'm going for the Leafs because I'm more of a Leafs fan than I'm a Habs fan.
Okay.
But at the same time, I was kind of laughing about this. It's like I want the Leafs to win, but I also have a distaste for Leafs
Nation
fans. Yeah, Leafs Nation to a point. So would it not be kind of the perfect scenario if the Leafs win the cup this year, but because Ford has everything locked down, there's not a person around to
celebrate
even in live or even have a celebration parade? So it's kind of like it never happened.
That would be poetic justice, eh? Wouldn't that be poetic?
It would be funny.
Nobody cared because you couldn't do anything.
Hey, Troy, you know what? You've been so good. We want to keep you on for a little overtime. Can you hang with us a little bit longer?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about the length, guys.
No,
rambling that much.
No, you know what? This has been so good that you are so good. You're taking out a whole segment that we just you're better than what we had planned. So let's just put it that way. Great stuff. It's Stanley Cup hockey playoff. I mean, it's intense. The intensity level is like next level. It's one of the best playoffs in all of sports. In terms of intensity and grit, and you've seen a team potentially 7 times. There's rivalries there. I just hope that I don't know. I'm not into it, and I'm going to be perfectly honest. I hope that I can get my juices flowing with certainly with the Habs and Leafs, but. Fingers crossed, because I really want to get into it. I really do. The Habs are a fun team to watch, like you say, Anderson and Toffoli, and they can throw their weight around. Weber's going to be in the lineup. It could be interesting. Price. They're veterans, right? Perry, all these guys. It'd be fun to watch Stahl. But I've been having a hard time getting into it. I've been talking to Brock about it all the time, about how frustrated I am getting involved in hockey. But you, my friend, just amped me up with your passion about hockey. So yeah,
like I totally get it. This is the first year. So to me, like, I love sports, man, across the board. To me, there's nothing better than the first round of the NHL playoffs. I don't know what it is. The first round series are just the best. Teams go out, they're hitting, it's fast, it's crazy. This year, I don't have that vibe. It's the exact same thing. And I think the other night, Florida and Tampa Bay kind of had that vibe to it. So
Big
it's like,
time.
oh wow, this is great, right? But it's missing something this season, and I don't know if it's because the beginning of the year was so intense with all the Canadian teams playing against each other. So you were all, you had that vibe going at the start and this hatred going on and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, my team kind of crapped the bed, and then they were out of the playoff hunt. And then it was just like, okay, well, now I'm just looking for the prospects, and so. Like I do feel that too. I mean, it's not just that you definitely like you feel that, right? I mean, and Pittsburgh just scored, so they're up.
Nice. I couldn't have said it better. I can't put my finger exactly.
Why it is.
But normally a Washington, Boston, I don't like Boston. Yeah. So a Washington, Boston going to overtime would very much excite me. And then
Absolutely.
I went up and got a snack or something, came back. I'm like, oh, is it over? And I was kind of like, whatever. Like it didn't have the same oomph to it. And there's, again, the games and the overtimes, again, that's 2 overtimes in that game, a 0-0 overtime with Vegas and Mini. Like, these are games that should be us on the edge of our seat and like into it, and it's just not the case. And I don't know if it's the fans, like
the fans,
for sure, it has to be a factor.
Like they're like,
when you watch a game and it's just the fans are going crazy and the announcers are like getting into it. And, like you can see the camera shaking a bit sometimes, right? It's just wild. But when you don't have those 20,000 fans screaming, waving towels and stuff, you just don't get that same hype from it, I guess, right?
I was at the Bell Center in 2014 for Montreal, Boston, and it was deafening.
Nuts.
It was a playoff game. It was deafening, and Montreal won, and it was absolutely insane. And I do think the fans that it has to have a factor for me, anyways, because I'm not excited about watching it, and maybe May 28th I will be. Anyways, Brock, you want to take us to
the goat of goats? I need an echo machine. I can do that somewhere. Didn't have quite the same vibe there. The goat of goats. I know you've followed the show, so we've been kind of working our way down. We used the Scores version of the goat of goats brackets, and they had all the votes on it, and they had their own winner. We've been doing it sort of internally and including our guests to kind of be tiebreakers if need be. Or unanimous wagon jumpers too. Anyway, we are in the semifinals, so we have 2. We're going to finish it off today. We have enough time. We don't have to go deep in this, but we're going to start with the one semifinal. It's Wayne Gretzky versus Roger Federer. I think this one is probably going to be a little bit easier for us, considering we just got off a whole puck talk.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong. So we got Wayne Gretzky versus Roger Federer. Who would move on in your goat of goats?
In this, I personally would pick Gretzky. He just Federer is unbelievable. Like, he's going to go down in history as one of the best athletes ever. Like, his longevity is insane. Like, he's still playing great. He's still playing. Like, he's fantastic, right? But Gretzky dominated his era so much. It was just unbelievable, right? And you always hear, but hockey wasn't as good back then. Yeah, but how come there weren't more Gretzkys then? Like, Gretzky just dominated. Like, it was wild. Like, so I would go with Gretzky personally.
Pep?
Yeah, I just for that alone, the fact that it's all relative to the era, right? Like, Gretzky dominated that era, just like McDavid's dominating this era. How come? Well, McDavid 10 years from now, maybe they'll be having the same conversation. Well, in this era, he's the best. So Gretzky, 4 years at 200 points in consecutive or something crazy. That's insane. So I'm going to go with Gretz, with an asterisk, because Federer's been playing high-level tennis against high-level competition for almost 20 years. It's insane what he's done.
Insane.
So that's a tough one. Like, I'm going to go Gretzky.
Yeah, I'll agree with the Gretzky. I think that's whatever. I figured that's kind of where that was going to go. The other semifinal, so who will be going up against Wayne in one, is Muhammad Ali versus Tiger Woods.
Ooh. I would go Muhammad Ali, and the only reason being is because Tiger Woods was more dominating than anybody for a stretch of time, but then he fell off the earth. And I know his injuries and stuff, but his longevity I just found wasn't there. And there was a lot of hype around him. He's great. I don't follow golf. I'll be the first one to admit it. It's not that I don't like golf. I just don't play golf. I don't follow golf.
Oh.
You got the buzzer. What's up? You got the buzzer. Oh my God, he doesn't pull that up for anybody.
He's mad.
Crazy.
No, that's fine.
That's totally fair.
It is totally fair.
Yeah, and
this is not an easy choice to make. Like,
no, it's not. I mean, they're all great, right?
Look, I'm going Ali only because, well, not only because, like, he fought 15 rounds against Joe Frazier, like bloodbaths, but complete bloodbaths. Like, Ali fought 3-4 years too long, and that's what sped up his Parkinson's. Yeah. And I mean, he put himself out there. He took the money, unfortunately, with the Larry Holmes fight, and he got just annihilated. some ugly stuff. But prior to that, the 10-year stretch where he was the champ, the Thrilla in Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle where he beat Foreman, we've all seen that. Got to go Ali. And please don't tell me it's Ali Gretzky in the final. That's going to impossible to pick. Is that what we're looking at?
I guess so, because you guys have already picked Ali. Mine, I was going Tiger Woods.
You're going Tiger Woods. Explain.
Ali.
Please explain.
I guess from a progressive standpoint, I know Ali did a lot of stuff, with Malcolm X and those kind of guys, and moving that along. For Tiger Woods, for me, was Ali goes one-on-one in the ring, a 15-round bloodbath, but it's him against Foreman. Tiger Woods is going up against 150 golfers every week. So he's got to beat those 150 golfers in the various stages to get through to the next round, whatever, and then win a tournament. You have to take out those people. The amount of times that, they say sun shines on a dog's ass once a day or once, whatever it is. One of those guys can just be hot one day. And Tiger Woods had to continually beat those. And plus he's doing it in a sport and transcended the sport and brought golf to sort of the next level. Like Ali was in the heyday of when it was good. Boxing has since not kept that up. I know Ali's not there anymore, but it just hasn't stood the test of time, where Tiger Woods, even when he's not playing, the excitement's not quite there, but there is a whole other generation, a whole other group of people who are playing golf now. More minorities are playing golf. And that's all because of what Tiger Woods did and sort of trailblazed that. But to me, it came down to the fact that when Tiger Woods is winning, he's beating 100+ people. When Ali's winning, he's beating one in the ring. So for me, that's where the Tiger Woods argument came in. But I'm one guy and you're two, so I got.
My thing with Tiger Woods, that one guy there that Ali's fighting has had to beat the 150 guys to get there, right? So. But he's not playing against 150 bums.
If Tiger Woods just had to go through and say, I'm going to beat you, and then I'll beat you, and then I'll beat you, but it's everybody at the same time and saying, you know what, it's a Royal Rumble, and say which one's going to do it. Like, it's, I don't know.
It's interesting. That's an interesting.
PGA is one of the hardest things to win.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all right. So we're down to Gretzky and Ali. Let's finish this sucker off.
Jesus.
Gretzky, Ali, greatest of all time. Who's it going to be? Pep, you start.
Oh, man. Well, that's hard. That's hard because I'd have to throw in MJ. Those three would be my finals, but I got to give Gretz.
Already taken out. Like 8 rounds ago. So
ridiculous.
Out of the conversation.
Which is ridiculous. But I'm gonna give it to Gretz, and here's why. His records will never be touched. Like his points record. I mean, no one's kind of come close to his records. So I just, for that fact alone, and the success in the 80s and the 4 cups, and basically revitalizing hockey in California by himself, I'm gonna go Gretz.
Very tough one. I see Tom Brady coming around the back there. Well, sorry.
No, Tom Brady was out. Actually, we are going to start the show with that next week. I'm going Ali. I'm going to go Ali because I want to make you the tiebreaker. Should there be? Well, there is a tiebreaker. I'm going Ali. I'm wearing the Ali shirt. Even though I picked Tiger Woods to beat Ali there, I figured Ali would be moving on.
We're down to the final minute here, by the way, aren't we? This is it.
Yeah. So
I'm going to go Gretz.
Choice.
The reason why I'm going to go Gretz, nobody's even come close. Actually, Mario had 199 points, but nobody's even hit 200 points. Gretzky's done it multiple times. He just dominated. From the time he was 18 years old until the time he retired, nobody touched him. The longevity of his career. He held his head with class the whole time, too. There was no, bad media about him. He was just a classy dude who put up the numbers. He's still a classy dude today, so I go with Gretzky.
How Canadian. It really is. I'm glad that Gretzky won this. I'm glad that Gretzky won this.
I think Gretzky won the score one as well. I think from a Canadian standpoint, you're going to have a lot of Gretzky supporters. Hey, we finished on a hockey show. It's going to be Gretzky. Next week, we'll have a golf one, and we'll see what happens when we redo these.
He's so bitter about that.
Jack Nicklaus is the greatest golfer of all time. End of discussion.
Cap City Beats. We are getting off of this. Tune in about 15 minutes if you're a soccer fan. I can't even say it properly. A soccer fan. The Soccer Snobs are on at 8:15. Giving
Hey, good group.
So good luck with that. We're going out to another Sickick Jam that was on YouTube. It's a bit of his Kanye mix. And Troy, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thanks,
it was great. Will not be the last time.
Right on.
Everybody else, have a great evening.
Flashing lights.
We don't want to hear that weak shit no more. That don't kill me. Can only make me stronger. That don't kill me. No one man should have all that. Let's get lost tonight. You could be my Black Kate Moss tonight. Play secretary on the boss tonight. And you don't give a fuck what they all say, right? Awesome, the Christian and Christian Dior. Damn, they don't make them like this anymore. I ask, cause I'm not sure. Do anybody make real shit anymore? No one man should have all that power. Don't act like I never told you. No one man should have all that power. Everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was. I just told you. That's who I think I am. How could you be so honest? Oh, how could you be so honest? You a woman so honest. How could you be so honest? How could you be so honest?